Hey everyone, welcome. I am Emma, and I want to welcome you to this conversation about Bentley's Masters of Science in Management. I am so glad to have all of you here with me to talk a little bit about this program, how you can learn in it, what you might benefit from if you are able to join us for it, and answer any questions you have about the program. So, to get started, I just want to remind you all if you could use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to let me know any questions you have throughout the presentation, I'm more than happy to stop to answer anything that's on your mind. And certainly there will be plenty of time to ask questions at the end. You also, if you take nothing else away from the next half an hour or so where I share information about this program, it's that I want to get to know you as an individual and I want to answer your individual questions. So, if truly you blank out, you forget everything I've ever said, please don't forget to reach out to me after. So, this is not your only chance to learn about this program, and I hope I get to know you individually. So, with that, I want to hop in and tell you a little bit about this program. But even before I do that, I'd love for you to take 2 minutes to think about this question. So, I want you to be thinking about how your undergraduate degree is not your professional ceiling. What I mean by that is you have still ample places you can go, regardless of what you studied. What you studied is a superpower. It's something you are very knowledgeable about, but you have so many paths you can take after that program. And so I want you to take a minute to answer these two questions. The first is, where do you want to go? What do you want your career to look like? And if you feel like something's standing in your way of getting there, I'd like you to note down on a sheet of paper, what is it? What's standing in your way? So take 1 minute to think about these questions, and I hope you'll actually write this down because I do want you to test your thoughts about this against the conversation we have today to see if maybe this degree, the MS in Management at Bentley, could help move that thing that's standing in your way and allow you to get to where you want to go. So I'm going to give you 20 more seconds to think about these two questions. Okay. So keep this in the back of your mind. And I want to show you what some other people are maybe thinking, and maybe you fit into one of these boxes. So the question here, when you come and think about doing an MS in management, is how does adding business fluency, business education, add to the background that you already have and connect you to a future that is something you're interested in? So here on the screen, you see some examples. This is completely not limiting. This is not the only set of options, but rather some things that maybe get your mind turning. And so perhaps you are a psychology major and you're really thinking about, okay, I want to add business fluency because I want to take that kind of understanding of how humans think plus business mindedness, and I want to use that to make user experiences better for people. And I want to go do UX research. Or instead, perhaps you were an English major. Spoiler alert, that's what I was. And you want to add business fluency because you don't want to just keep reading Pride and Prejudice for the rest of your life, but actually you want to be able to do content strategy and you want to understand how businesses work in order to do that well. So I hope that maybe on this screen there's something that speaks to you of taking your superpower, your knowledge, adding business fluency on it, and that unlocking a career path that might be of interest to you. And so I'm going to make the case today that Bentley's MS in Management is the program that can give you that business fluency that you're looking for and allow you to unlock that career path that you saw on the right-hand side of the screen. So the first thing I'm going to do before I dive into lots and lots of details is just give you some really important basic information about the program and why it's different than other MS in management programs you might see elsewhere. The first is that this program is a cohort, meaning that you enter with a group of people and you do the whole program together. You might be thinking, Emma, that sounds cool, but why is that important? Well, this program is all about building your network so that you can launch into your career in an effective way. And having that group of people you get to know very, very well is a group that you can take with you long after you are here at Bentley. Another thing we're going to talk about today is some of the specialization you can do in this program. You're going to have two choices of majors, and we're going to talk about why are those the two choices and how does that add to your understanding. But again, the point of those majors is to ensure that you are set up with the skills that employers are saying they seek in their employees so that you can hit the ground running at day one. You also are going to be given a number of different academic experiences that are unique to Bentley that I think will really set you up to contribute meaningfully. You're going to have cross-disciplinary learning. Now, you're going to say, Emma, that's super academic and boring. Why are you bringing this up? And Bentley is uniquely positioned to allow you to blend this business education with understandings from other academic spaces. So whether that's the sciences, that's technology, that's English, in order to make better decisions by bringing in information from all of those places, you're going to be given the chance to do action learning. So everything you do in this program is applied. And the reason for that is we want to give you those kind of hands-on experiences so that when you then go and do them at your employer, you've already practiced. You're able to do the work and they can see that you're really contributing at a high level. The program includes a global experience where you and your cohort will go abroad for a week in order to learn about business in a different context. All business is global now, whether that's that you're working with a multinational company or you're working with a group that is serving folks from other countries or that your supply chain comes from another company or another country. And that global fluency is just a priority because of the global nature of our world. And we want to make sure you're exposed to that. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, there is a huge focus in this program on ensuring that you are getting hired in the places that you are interested in. You're going to be taking dedicated career development coursework that we're going to talk about, and you're going to have access to Bentley's #1 ranked career services office, such that you are really learning how to get in with the organizations that you're interested in. So those are some basic tenets of the program that we're going to talk about in a lot more depth in just a moment. But I do want to show you what you'll learn in the program. We're going to talk about what's underneath this in a second, because in some ways that may be more cross-cutting. But I want to start by just literally showing you the structure of the program, because I know many of you on the line, that's what you're curious about. The program is about 10 and a half or so months. You start with us in July and you end in May at a traditional graduation timeline. You might be thinking to yourself, Emma, why do we start in July and not in kind of late August at the beginning of the academic year? And the reason for that is we want you to be prepared for the fall career recruitment cycle. We want you to be able to go to employers at that point and already show them that you've learned something, that you are able to speak to what you are going to learn in the rest of the program. And so we have you come and join us in July. So you have a few months of coursework under your belt before you start to have those employer conversations, which increases the success rate of folks landing that job that they're looking for. You can see here on the screen, there are a number of core courses that everyone in the cohort takes. Those are the ones that are named. There are the major courses that I talked about that allow you to specialize in one of two areas that you think will set you up for the path you're looking for. And that all adds up to an applied capstone that allows you to connect to real organizational challenges and serve those organizations so that you could go to a future employer and say, look, this is the strategy I created alongside a team for an employer partner. In the middle there, you see the global immersion that I talked about, and that is a very, very kind of important experience in the full structure. I've talked about the fact that there are two majors in the program that allow the cohort to specialize. Those two majors are people management and leadership, and managing with data and technology. Both of those majors are STEM designated, meaning that the program itself, as it in its entirety, is STEM designated. You may be asking, Emma, how did you pick people management and leadership and managing with data and technology? Bentley actually went out to our employer partners. So we have a number of employers that consistently hire Bentley graduates. We literally went to the top 10 of those employers and we said, help us understand what you are looking for in your early career hires. What are the skills? What are the foci that you're hoping that they have? And what does that mean for the next generation of employees as our world is shifting and changing? And across the board, these were the two things that employers pointed to. They wanted to make sure that their early career hires were really thinking thoughtfully about managing people and what does it mean to lead. They're looking for folks with the incredibly durable human skills of emotional intelligence, team dynamics, group work that, as we all know, cannot, at least at this point, and I hope never, will be replaced by something like AI. And they want their early career hires to be very skilled in that. They also shared that they're really hoping that folks are able to manage with data and understand how to leverage all of the emerging technology that is coming at us. They want folks that are able to make good decisions, who can be good consumers of data. They do not need to be the ones producing the data, but rather they want folks as well who are able to read data, communicate it, and make informed recommendations on where a business can go. And so everyone in this program gets the choice of one of those two majors, and they can think a lot about which of those two foci would lead them in the direction that would best serve their needs. So I talked for a second about employers, right? They told us these big buckets they wanted folks to learn about. But we also, in designing this program, we're thinking in general about what are corporate recruiters looking for in folks that they hire. And so this is data from the Graduate Management Admission Council. They do a survey of corporate recruiters every year. And this is the 2024 survey where they asked recruiters, what are the most important current skills that you're looking for in your hires? And 5 years from now, what do you think is going to shift and change based on things like the advent of AI and what have you? And you can see the actual skills don't particularly shift between those 2 years. There's some fluctuation in importance based on global context, but corporate recruiters are looking for these 22 skills in just about this order as they look to hire their entry level roles. All of these are meaningfully addressed and built in the MS in management here at Bentley. And we want you to walk away being able to point to how you have built those skills and how you can communicate how your ability to leverage those skills would benefit an employer. I'm going to focus on four of them, or kind of four buckets of them, and how they show up in the program, just because going through 22, we would be here for the rest of the day, and none of you have time for that. So instead, I'm going to focus on these top four key skills. The first thing you're really going to learn in this program is how to synthesize information using multiple business perspectives. I'll speak in a moment about why that's important. You're going to learn how to use data to decide. You're going to build global and ethical mindsets that allow you to do good business, which is something very important here at Bentley. And you're going to learn how to communicate your professional value, both before you start working, so in your interview process, in your application process, in your job search process, but also within your teams once you are on the ground at an organization. And so these are four skills that are core to what we're hoping to develop in all of our students throughout all of their courses here in this program. And I want to show you how those show up in the curriculum and why are they important as someone is looking to launch their career. So the first one that I kind of mentioned before is this idea of synthesizing information with a business perspective. This is a quote from one of the faculty members who actually is going to be teaching in this program. And he says, even in a career focused on social change, I needed business skills to understand how to make change, lead change, demonstrate return on investment, and talk to investors in order to be successful. And Mateo's point here is he had a social change agenda. He had a background that was not in business. He was a background in organizational psychology. And he realized, though, that in his desire to produce social change, he couldn't just bang the drum without that business perspective. He needed a certain language of business and an understanding of how businesses worked so that he could achieve his goal set. He needed that understanding so he could thrive, so his movement could move forward. You can think about how that maybe is similar. I spoke to someone recently about this program that comes from a science background, and they're realizing, hey, I really get the technical science piece of this, but I don't understand how funding comes through for it. I don't understand how startups work. And I want to work in that ecosystem. And so bringing in this business language, this business mindset, an understanding of accounting and finance and operations management can really help you take your skills, so maybe a technical science skill, an organizational psychology skill, and bring it into superhero status because you're then able to explain within the business context why what you're doing is important. So, if we think back to the curriculum, this is included throughout the entire curriculum. So, you're going to take some business fundamental classes that actually expose you to all of the language of business, but also throughout the entire curriculum, you're going to have the chance to practice this so that whatever it is that is your purpose, you're able to express it thoughtfully. The next thing I brought up is this idea of using data to decide. As I said, we don't expect folks in this program to leave being high-level analysts. If that's your interest, we have a wonderful Master's of Science in Business Analytics that I would absolutely suggest looking into. But if instead you're interested in being really good at using data to make business-informed decisions, and being able to communicate those business informed decisions to a variety of audiences. This is a program that's going to teach you how to do that. And when I say communication to varied audiences, what I mean here is this program is going to help you understand if someone brings you data, how to kind of synthesize it, and then maybe speak to a technical audience about it. Or maybe how do you talk to an executive audience about it? How do you call your mom and talk about what this data says? There's a difference in all of that. And this program wants to give you that skill set because often when you enter a new role and you're kind of joining the workforce, that's one of the things you're asked to do. You're not always asked to make the decision, but you're asked to inform the decision and you're asked to give the clear information that allows someone else to make a thoughtful decision. And we want you to be set up to make those recommendations with confidence. You can go into more depth on this skill. You're going to get this skill regardless of the major you choose. But if this is a skill that you're really compelled by, the managing with data and technology major might be the one that's of interest to you. And these are the four courses that major includes that give you even more depth on this idea of using data to decide. The third thing I mentioned that this program, the third skill that this program is going to build is a global and ethical mindset. Here at Bentley, we really believe in the idea of good business. We believe that people and profit are important. We believe that we should be thoughtful about sustainability when we're making business decisions. We should think about other cultures. We need to bring in our philosophy department, so we're thinking about ethics. You can see here McKinsey back in January put out a report about how human skills are going to matter more than ever in an age of AI. And we here at Bentley completely agree with that. We believe that everyone in this program needs to leave the program with a deep understanding of judgment, an ability to build human relationships, to have high level of critical thinking and a deep, deep empathy across cultures and across kind of all concepts you can consider. And so through that, we have lots of ways that you're going to engage this global and ethical mindset so that you can launch into your career with that at the forefront of what you're doing. And as I mentioned, employers told us why they believe this was so important. You're going to have that chance to go on a global immersion trip because we believe you need to see business in another context. We want to bring in our expertise on ethics and sustainability. And then finally, we're going to leverage many of the disciplines that are taught here at Bentley so that you're building a mindset from a lot of different angles. The last thing I want to talk about is this idea of being able to communicate. And as I mentioned, that communication is not only in a role, although we absolutely are going to talk about that, but also before you even land that job. In talking to employer partners, they shared that the thing that really separates candidates for them, that they choose to hire from those that they don't, are those candidates' ability to tell their story. It's not always their resume that's the thing that separates them, but rather their ability to communicate their professional competencies and how they're going to contribute to an organization. And so, as I mentioned, the curriculum is set up with this early focus on career development and professional competencies that launch before any hiring starts to happen here on campus so that you are building that communication style and doing all the preparation you need in order to hit the ground running on that job search. You'll be able to leverage our number one ranked career development center, that's ranking from the Princeton Review, and all of our employer relationships here on campus. As I mentioned, we also are going to develop your people and professional skills. We want to make sure that once you are in a job, that you are showing early signs of leadership and that you are able to communicate thoughtfully with folks. Leadership skills are the number one things that employers told us that they're looking for in early career hires. And so there is a deep focus on building that skill set as part of this program. And if you want to go even deeper into that, again, this is across both majors. But if you want depth of focus there, you might choose the people management and leadership major. And these are the courses that you would then specialize in if that is of interest. So we talked about what you're going to learn at great length. We talked about the skills that are underneath the program as well as the actual curriculum. I do want to take a moment to talk about how you'll learn. The first thing about how you'll learn that I think is important is that our faculty is highly industry aligned. Why that's important is that they have a firsthand look at what employers are actually looking for. They have deep connections to employers. Across our faculty, we have an amazing mix of career academics, so folks that study business or study these contexts, as well as people that came directly from industry. So you might be learning finance from someone who used to work at Fidelity. As our finance program director always says, that's like learning how to pitch from someone who used to work on the Red Sox, right? So you're getting that firsthand look into their work. Or you're going to have coursework that's with folks that have spent their career really understanding issues from every angle so that you are really able to understand, okay, if I want to insert myself into industry, how can I be successful? You have a highly networked cohort. That cohort, though, also extends beyond our kind of that literal cohort you're taking coursework with. Meaning, you're going to have the opportunity to leverage Bentley's alumni network, our employer network, and lots of other folks that can build out and branch you out into the industries you're interested in. Finally, and I mentioned this before, you're going to really be able to practice as part of this program. You're going to get to try things in a safe space. So if you're thinking about how to communicate with data and you do that in a course space instead of on your first day of work, you get feedback, you get to practice. I've even heard inklings of us leveraging some really interesting things like VR software to help you practice certain communications, and avatars are going to give you feedback and things like that. And so, really, you're going to get to practice so that when you are in those interview scenarios or at your role, you're feeling really confident and comfortable in what you're doing. Another piece of this that's really important is this is a full-time program here on campus at Bentley, and so you're going to have ample opportunity to learn outside of the classroom. Bentley hosts a variety of campus events, things like speaker series or employer visits or employers coming and teaching you how to do case studies. And you would have the opportunity to join those types of things in order to learn outside of the formal curriculum here in this program. I'm going to pause there and say that's really kind of the overview of this program. As I said, I hope you'll leverage the Q&A function if you have any questions about the program and how it works. But while you do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about applying. As I mentioned earlier, my key goal is to get to know you and your goals so that we can make sure that this program best serves you. And so our application process is a means by which you can do that. So we try to make this as easy as possible on you. We want to understand kind of who you are at this phase of your life. So we're going to ask for something like a resume that can help us understand if you've had any work experience or internship opportunities. We're going to ask you to complete an essay. We're going to ask you to submit a recommendation so that someone else can tell us their perception of you. We're going to ask for your transcripts from any places that you have studied before. And then we may ask you to interview with us. That is upon our request. I want to clarify and underline that test scores are optional here at Bentley. And so if you have not taken something like the GMAT or the GRE, no worries. You can easily apply without that, and we do not expect you to submit those scores. If you do have scores and you're proud of them, I would love to see them, right? It's a way for me to get to know you, but certainly not necessary. I also want to talk about the investment that you would make in this program. This program is one where all of your investment in the program includes a comprehensive list of things. So when I share the cost of the program, that's inclusive of books. It's inclusive of any cohort experiences that we offer for you here at Bentley. It includes the global travel experience once you're in the country that you would be studying in. It does not include airfare because we know people have different airlines of choice and we don't want to box you in on that. It includes your graduate student fees. And so this is not a cost that then you're going to look at and say, oh, but I also have to buy books and I have to do this and that. This cost includes all of these things. I do want to point out it does not include housing or anything like that. That is something that would be separate since, again, folks may choose to live and participate in different ways. So the total program investment for this program is $55,000 for the July to May and inclusive of the things on the screen. When you submit your application, you will automatically be considered for a a merit scholarship. So a scholarship that you do not have to pay back here to Bentley. It's a grant from us that reduces your individual cost. Something I always say to folks is that they really should go ahead and apply so that they can see what the cost would be to them, because that cost may look different for me versus you based on your background and your skill set. I want to end by reminding you what this program is really looking to do. We want you to be able to contribute to your job on day one. We want you to hit the ground running with an employer and show them that you are able to contribute. Why? We know that when people are able to quickly contribute and they don't have to learn quite as much on the job, they are more likely to be promoted and elevated faster, which accelerates your career in the long run. Ways that we do that in this program is we're going to help you, you know, decide, make decisions with data and communicate those. We're going to work with you to learn to communicate effectively. We're going to help you manage projects and contribute to the decisions being made. And then finally, we're going to help you bring both analytical thinking and your people skills into your roles. Here at Bentley, we believe in that kind of humanness of business, and we're going to make sure that you are able to contribute in all of those different ways. So I want to end by saying I really hope that you'll stay in touch as you consider this program. There's lots of QR codes here on the screen that would allow you to do that. The first is a link to our webpage that gives you more in-depth information about the program. The second is a link to email me. I hope you will get in touch because I want to understand your interest in the program and engage there. I want to give you a chance to learn more about Bentley. So the third QR code is to follow us on YouTube. We put out a ton of content that tells you about what campus life is like, there'll be other great opportunities to learn about this program and others. So that's a wonderful place to kind of get that behind the scenes look at Bentley. And then finally, I hope you'll register for an upcoming event to learn even more about the program. And so, with that, I am going to stop talking and I'm going to give folks just a minute if anyone is interested in asking any questions. But otherwise, I would be very happy to send you on your day. Wonderful. Well, I hope you will be in touch with me individually about your interest in the program. I really do want to get